Happy Victory Monday, Commanders fans. We got a lot of Commanders news and rumors to discuss on today's edition of the Commanders Report. Welcome into the show. I am your host, Jack Sperry. First up, we got the latest Marshon Lattimore injury update for you guys. Then we'll break down whether the Commanders should consider claiming Diontae Johnson off of waivers before this afternoon's waiver wire deadline. And then we'll finish up today's show with an updated look at the NFC playoff picture. I'm going to explain to you guys how the Washington Commanders can clinch a playoff spot with a win over the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football here in Week 17. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We provide you guys free and informative Commanders content every single day here on the Commanders Report. And this is going to be a big week here in Week 17 as the Commanders look to lock up a playoff spot here this weekend. So we got some bad news to start here, guys, and I wish I had a better update on Marshon Lattimore, but he did leave the game in the fourth quarter yesterday, and it's being reported that he re-aggravated his hamstring injury that kept him out, even going back to when he was still with the Saints. Of course, he missed multiple weeks with that hamstring injury, and we don't know the severity of it, at least not yet at the time of me recording this video. We don't know how many weeks he's going to miss or what kind of grade hamstring injury it is at this point. But the fact that it was re-aggravated and he didn't go back in the game in a really, really crucial portion of that football game when it was so close tells you that it's probably not looking good. And I got to tell you guys, man, I've said this even before the Commanders traded for Lattimore. This team really does need a number one corner in their cornerback room. And outside of Marshon Lattimore and Mike Sainristil, there's just not a whole lot of guys that can hold up on the outside against legit starters in this league. Marshon was really that guy, that enforcer, that press man coverage type of guy on the outside. So hopefully he can come back for at least the postseason at this point. But Mike Sainristil's done a really good job on the outside as well. Then Noah Igbenogany has been playing in the slot. Benjamin St-Juste in his limited action yesterday, and honestly over the last 2 weeks has just been really, really bad. You also have Michael Davis, who has been really, really bad, and your practice squad guys aren't giving you much relief either. So my take on this whole situation, guys, is that the Commanders need Lattimore on the field in the postseason to even have a shot at winning a playoff game this year, all right? Like the defense, for them to hold up against the best teams in the league with legit wide receiver talent, you need a guy like Marshon Lattimore that can take away an opposing team's number one receiver, as well as Mike Sainristil has done this year. He's more of a number two outside corner than a number one at this point in his NFL career. So unfortunately, if the Commanders lose Marshon Lattimore, I think that the chances of them winning a playoff game pretty much go down the toilet. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Are the Commanders screwed without Marshon Lattimore in the lineup? Simply give me a yes or a no. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor at Prize Picks, but this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So while I'm talking about Prize Picks today, give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. With that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. And Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action all on your phone this football season. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play just your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. You guys can see here Monday Night Football, our projections today. I'm going to take the less on passing yards for Jordan Love, the more on Blake Grupe here, field goals here for the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to take the less on passing yards for Spencer Rattler. So you guys can download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you use code CLNS and playing your first $5 lineup when you download the Prize Picks app today. Prize Picks, run your game. So I wanted to get this video out kind of earlier than normal today because today, there's going to be potentially a big name wide receiver that's picked up on the NFL waiver wire at 4 p.m. Eastern time today, and that is Diontae Johnson, former Steeler, former Panther, and now former Ravens player after Baltimore released him late last week. Now the waiver wire deadline today is at 4 p.m. Eastern, so it's going to be interesting to see who picks him up. Pittsburgh is certainly a team that could look at bringing him back after they traded him this past offseason. The Houston Texans, after losing Tank Dell, could certainly be interested in him as well. But listen, man, I think that this is something that Adam Peters should maybe look into because Diontae Johnson is a legitimately great route runner and arguably like a top 10, even top 15 route runner in the National Football League today. It didn't work out in Baltimore, but you take a look at his route running last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the entire route tree is at his disposal, man. You guys can see every single arrow is in the green in this particular graphic, and it's because he's always getting open. Doesn't matter what route he's running, man. He is an absolute technician. He can be a big-time safety blanket for Jaden Daniels if the Commanders end up claiming him and bringing him into the locker room. Now, speaking of the locker room, DJ is not known as a guy that is a good locker room presence. The Pittsburgh Steelers reportedly unloaded him and traded him this offseason for pretty much nothing, if you remember that trade package, because they didn't feel like he was a good influence on George Pickens, their young wide receiver, and then also he was quarreling with team leaders there in Pittsburgh like Minkah Fitzpatrick. So DJ has been kind of branded as kind of like a me guy, and of course he had this whole drama in Baltimore where he only had one catch. He complains about it continuously, and then it ends up him leaving Baltimore after that team gave up a 5th-round draft pick to go get him. So listen, man, I think that Johnson could be of value to this Washington football team here, man. Like, you look at the wide receiver room right now for Washington. You know, you've gotten some good things out of Olamide Zaccheaus and Jamison Crowder ever since Noah Brown went down with a kidney injury, and Terry McLaurin obviously is your number one, and he's going to continue to be that number one target even if you get Diontae Johnson. But if you're looking to really bolster up this unit and make it as good as it can possibly be in preparation for a potential playoff push here, getting a guy like Diontae Johnson is certainly something that could add to this wide receiver room. But hey, Zaccheaus and Crowder got 2 touchdowns apiece yesterday against the Eagles, so it certainly seems like Jaden Daniels has no problem targeting these receivers. So you be the GM for me down there in the comment section. Do you put in a claim for Diontae Johnson if you are Adam Peters? Simply give me a C if you would claim him, or type P if you're going to pass on him. I think that I can see arguments for both C and P answers here, so let me know your reasoning down there in the comments section. So some final thoughts here before we wrap things up on today's edition of Commanders News and Rumors. I'm a little bit worried about the run game, guys. Last 2 games against the Saints and now the Eagles, run game just hasn't really been effective. Brian Robinson Jr. is coughing up the football now. He had 2 fumbles in yesterday's win versus the Eagles. And, just overall, I blame the offensive line a little bit, and I do blame Brian Robinson Jr. a little bit for it. Blame Cliff Kingsbury maybe a little bit for it as well. But this is an offense that really relied on a strong run game earlier in the season. And as the season has gone on, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And really the turning point, in my opinion, was the Austin Eckler injury, the concussion that has kept him out ever since he took that huge hit against the Dallas Cowboys back in Week 12. And, since then, this rushing attack just really hasn't been the same outside of that Tennessee Titans game where, Chris Rodriguez Jr. had a pretty decent outing in that one. But Brian Robinson Jr. hasn't been stellar. This offensive line has gotten worse and worse in run blocking as the season goes on. Andrew Wiley's not playing well. Brandon Coleman is showing some good things, but also he's having some issues as well. Then Nick Allegretti and Tyler Biadasz even had really, really bad games on film yesterday against the Eagles. So this is something that's going to have to be fixed if the Commanders want to win a playoff game this year, and it does have me worried a bit. But the one thing I'm not worried about is that Jaden Daniels is freaking unbelievable, man. He is a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League already as a rookie. I'm ready to say that now. And, he's the Slim Reaper, plain and simply, man. 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter yesterday. And just take a look at the anticipation on the game-winning touchdown pass yesterday against the Eagles. Jamison Crowder isn't even past the defender before he lets this thing go. Look how far in front the football is as well. I mean, there's just no chance that the Philadelphia Eagles have on this play because Jaden knows exactly what he's looking at, and he ends up firing a strike to the middle of the end zone perfectly placing it to Jamison Crowder. And to do this with 10 seconds left on the clock, the game on the line to secure really a signature victory at home against the best defense in the game, or quote-unquote best defense in the game. This is a really big-time moment from the rookie out of LSU. So the last thing I want to talk about today is I want to take some stock in where the Washington Commanders are in the NFC playoff picture and where they rank both offensively and defensively in the major stat categories. You take a look at the NFC playoff picture heading into tonight. Now, Green Bay does play on Sunday Night Football against the Saints, so their record's going to change here. If they lose, it's going to be very interesting to see if Green Bay or Washington who ends up getting the 6 and the 7 seed in this NFC wild card picture here. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. Tampa Bay and Seattle still in the hunt here at 8 and 7. But at this point, guys, plain and simply, the Commanders are in the driver's seat, 2 games ahead of both of those teams. If they just get one more win, or if any of those teams end up losing, the Commanders clinch a playoff berth in the NFC this season. With the Cowboys and, of course, Atlanta on Sunday Night Football next week, I think the Commanders should be able to secure at least one victory and punch their ticket to the postseason. Now we look at the offensive stats and ranks here for this team. And once again, this team ranks in the top 10 in every single one of these categories. And this is one of the best offenses in football, even despite maybe a little bit of a lull in kind of like 3/4 of the way through the season. This team is starting to really heat it up right when you want them to, right at the end of the season. You want to be playing your best football. They had a really good game against a really good defense yesterday, outside of the turnovers. Of course, you got to clean those up. But still, despite those 5 turnovers, you're 8th in giveaways this year. So overall, this Commanders offense has done a really good job at protecting the football. The 5 turnovers yesterday don't necessarily scare me. Then on the defensive side of the ball, like we talked about earlier, guys, I think you're going to need Marshon Lattimore, because when you look at the numbers throughout the entirety of the season, it's just not looking great, at least in terms of playoff caliber defense. They're all right, 18th in points per game, 10th in yards per game allowed. But overall, they give up a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. They don't turn the ball over a ton. And I think if you don't have Marshon Lattimore, this defense is going to be in trouble. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. I will see you guys next time. And until then, go raise some hell.